Stellar Blade is looking better with each showing. We finally got the release date at the end of the recent trailer that also teased an unexpected focus on third-person shooting. We learned about an interesting take on side content from interviews with the developers and way more. So I'll tell you everything you need to know. One thing that already sets the game apart is the pretty unique setting. We play as Eve, a paratrooper from one of humanity's colonies who is tasked with the mission of reclaiming Earth. In Stellar Blade, humans were driven from Earth by a mysterious race called the Naytiba, and it is Eve's mission to hunt these creatures down. In her mission to do so, she will befriend the Earthborn Adam, as well as Lily, a member of a previous airborne expedition that will provide tech support. But that is just the start, as you'll meet many more people when you eventually reach the human city of Zion. There should be some interesting interactions here, as the people refer to Eve as an angel, treating her with both awe and fear. I've no doubt we'll find out why as we hunt down the Naytiba, but one thing we have learned from this is that Stellar Blade will not be a linear game. Instead, Zion will function as a hub for a more semi-open world design. The developers noted Nier Automata and God of War as big inspirations, and they have confirmed that once you enter the city of Zion, it becomes a semi-open world where you can freely explore. That means there's also room for a lot of side content, both by interacting with NPCs or picking up missions from a request list in town. Most of these will involve objectives that send you out into one of the more open areas to rescue people or battle specific monsters, but some will involve more relaxing activities like fishing. One of your missions also revolves around collecting an energy source known as a hypercell to restore power to the city, which will unlock even more side characters and content. The devs have noted that the main story doesn't change as a result of you engaging with the side content, so it is completely optional. However, they've also said that we'll miss out on a ton of quests and characters if we don't engage with it, so it still sounds like it is worth your time. But make no mistake, most of the time in Stellar Blade will be spent fighting the Naytiba in combat. While it certainly looks very flashy, I didn't really get the feel for it from looking at the trailers, but the developers have stated some interesting facts in their interview with IGN Japan. The basic idea is very familiar for a third-person action game. You have various melee combos, you can block, dodge and parry, and you have an ability wheel for special attacks that need to be powered by a special resource. In Stellar Blade, this resource is called beta energy and it charges when you attack or parry. The developers have stressed that it's not a combat system where you're continuously attacking, but you want to pay attention to enemy attack patterns and pick the right moment to unleash your own combos. That's especially going to be true for the game's bosses, of course, which also introduce a new element to your arsenal, the burst gauge. This meter is only active during boss fights and charges when you counter a boss's special move with a dodge or parry. You can then immediately follow up this counter with a special skill, so a nice way to reward you for countering those special moves. What's also interesting, and something we haven't really seen a ton of in the trailers, is that there's seemingly a big emphasis on third-person shooting too. The devs have stated that in some stages and dungeons, long-range weapons will be very important, so that should provide some nice variety on top of your melee skill set. And this again reminds me of Nier Automata, which mixed up its fast-paced action combat with twin-stick shooter segments, sometimes even in the middle of a boss fight, and that worked amazingly. Not sure if we should expect that kind of depth from the third-person shooting, but at the very least it sounds like an important part of your toolkit. And on top of that, you'll also have access to consumable items like shock grenades that you can purchase at resupply points spread throughout the world. I think I'll be saving up for some WB pumps, which revive you in the same place when killed in combat. You'll be able to rest at these resupply points, which resets health but also respawns enemies. And you can acquire new skills here, with the recent State of Play showcasing an attack tree for basic sword skills and a beta tree for new active skills, with also one skill tree currently locked. I also noticed when Eve kills an enemy in combat, the HUD displays your progress towards the next skill point, which are abbreviated as SP. So kinda similar to Respawn's Jedi games, which also had checkpoints that respawned enemies and had you earn XP points through combat. I'm still not sure if you also lose progress towards the next point when you die though. And the final thing you can do at a resupply point is upgrading your equipment to, for example, upgrade the damage on your weapon or increase the amount of gear you can equip. Now so far we've only seen Eve use her sword, and the upgrade menu does not hint at the existence of other weapons. So while I hope there are more of them or ways to change up combat, we haven't seen them as of yet, at least as far as I know. The devs have stated the expanded skill tree allows for build crafting, saying you can turn Eve into either a speedier character, a more recovery centered fighter, or a defense centered one. So even if there's only one main weapon, you'll still be able to change up your playstyle to fit your personal preference. The recent PlayStation blog post also mentions gears and exospines as important items we get to loot, but there is no info on what these actually do. When we do have more info or gameplay, we will of course keep you posted, so subscribe to not miss the next video and leave a like if you enjoyed this one so far. What we do know is that we will be able to pick a ton of different costumes for our main character Eve, as there will be around 30 different outfits for you to collect. Some of these can be purchased in the city and some need to be crafted by finding the blueprint and collecting the required materials. There are also accessories to collect, like the ones included in the deluxe edition, and a system that allows you to change up your hairstyle. And all of these are purely cosmetic, they will not impact gameplay in any way, so you're completely free to wear whatever looks coolest. You'll also be able to unlock new outfits for your main companions Adam and Lily, and again I'm getting Jedi Survivor vibes here with the semi-open world, the way skill points are handled, and the main rewards for exploration being new cosmetic options. The game also hid a lot of these cosmetics behind puzzle or traversal challenges, and while I don't think we'll see an expansive movement system in Stellarblade, there does seem to be some light platforming involved. For starters, we can see that Eve unlocks a double jump from one of Lily's upgrades. I think we're going to need that to get on top of this giant tower we can see in one of the open world shots that looks like it's practically begging to be climbed. We've also seen her swinging pole to pole and carefully balancing on narrow obstacles. Again, I don't really expect challenging platforming sections, but at the very least traversal seems more engaging than simply walking towards your next quest marker. And we have also seen footage of Eve using her sword as a skateboard, which looks to be a linear part of one of the game's boss fights. But I'd of course love the opportunity to use this as a means of traversal. A couple of other things to note are the game length, which the devs have noted to be around 25 hours for the main story and up to 50 hours if you also want to do all the side content, which is a good length for one of these semi-open world games, and since I assume it will offer a decent challenge too, game length may vary depending on how much you struggle on a certain boss. So good to know then that you can adjust the difficulty in Stellarblade, and the devs have also noted that there are support features that will make the game accessible to those who aren't familiar with action games. Which kind of makes me think of the way Final Fantasy XVI handled difficulty, with the ability to make things like dodging or healing easier for the player. Personally, I'm also pretty excited to hear more of the game's soundtrack. What we've heard so far sounds very good, and knowing that one of Nier's composers had a hand in making some of these tracks, I think we're in for a real treat. When we learn more about the game, we will of course let you know here, so subscribe to not miss our next video and leave a like if you enjoyed this one. If you want, you can watch our previous video with a ton of info on another big 2024 action RPG for the PlayStation 5, Rise of the Ronin, by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.